my wife messages me. She's like, we're on our way back. It's going to be okay. She's feeling great. We got her changed. I'm like, oh, sigh of relief. So then all this stuff happens. I'm in the back. I'm feeling really amazing. I'm like, okay, my family's okay. I got this talk dialed in, 10 minutes. It's all I need. I'm making peace with all of it. And right before it was my turn, the MC comes up to me and he's like, you know what? We're on schedule. We're doing great. Everything's awesome. Just do your original talk. It's all good. And walks away. And I go, wait, what? What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Diamond Life Mentor Podcast with your host, Balazs W Kardos. I just returned from 3 weeks of traveling, 2 weeks in Japan, and a week in Hawaii. And wow is all I can say. What an incredible 3-week adventure. There were so many highlights and so many takeaways and so many realizations that I had during this holiday and during this special time celebrating Enagic's 50th anniversary in Okinawa, Japan, with 8,000 people from 100 countries, and roughly half of the people in the arena were a part of my Global Prosperity Movement organization. They were filled with you listening to my podcast. And I just want to say, I'm overwhelmed with the experience. I'm overwhelmed for so many different reasons. And I wanted to record a podcast trying my best to articulate the feelings, the emotions, some of the things that go through my mind, and the difference that this event had on me versus some of the prior global conventions that I've attended. And I've been to majority of them since I started in this business. I think I may have missed one or two for a couple of different reasons, but for the most part, I've attended every single one, and they have gradually grown and evolved and changed, not just the size of the event, the venue, the production, the professionalism, the way that they curate the speakers and the entertainment and the flow of the day. A lot of things have improved so much. But not just that, my personal experience has evolved and changed so much as well. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that and what I miss about the old days, and what I also really greatly appreciate about where I'm at today, the leadership level I'm at, the size of my organization, and the role that I have evolved into all these years later. So, first things first, when we first went to Japan, I took my whole family. I'm a really, really big believer in bringing my family along to the global convention. Obviously, I don't take them on every single event that I speak at or every single business trip and things like that, but I do feel it's super important to do our very best when possible, when feasible, when you can make it work financially and with childcare and the time, and there's many variables that I understand that you may be in yourself. You might not even have children yet. There's a lot of different people in the community with different circumstances. But as you know my story, I worked really long and really hard to be in a position before I even had kids to be able to travel with my family and it not break the bank or not be something that I'm able to do. Now, as you know, if you travel by yourself, it's one thing. There are challenges associated with that. And there's lots of variables, especially when you travel to a other side of the world and the culture is completely different. Never mind the time zone difference, never mind the way that they operate day to day, the food choices, and there's so many variables that make it challenging to travel by yourself, that you really have to have a problem-solving mindset and go with the flow and figure it out and be resourceful and be able to ask for help and find your path and find your way. But traveling with kids, young kids, traveling with your wife, traveling with your mom, it puts a whole nother level of complexity, of challenges, of emotions, of ups and downs, of roller coaster rides. And so when we arrived in Tokyo, our plan was to explore Tokyo. We've never been there before. So on one of the first nights, maybe second night there, we were only there for 4 nights. My daughter scratched her arm on something. We weren't sure. We didn't really see it. And it got progressively worse. And next thing you know, she had a full-on staph infection on her arm. And we're starting to worry. At first, we were being cool about it, like maybe it's just a bruise, maybe it's just a little scab, whatever. And all of a sudden, my wife's starting to worry. It was getting red. It was kind of pussy and it was bubbling and it looked infected and it was just not looking very nice. And so in this situation, it's extra scary because you're in a third world, not a third world country, but you're in a international country. And, we do have travel insurance, but the hospitals are different. You're not sure how long you got to wait at the emergency room. And there's all this stuff that's super, super not convenient. And we were staying at a gorgeous 5-star hotel. And so we contacted the front desk and we said, hey, listen, we're in a situation right now where we're not sure how bad this is, but we want to get a doctor to look at it, give us a professional opinion, possibly give us like a cream or maybe antibiotics or something that she needs so that we can address this and get ahead of it and, without it getting worse. So the lady at the front desk says, okay, well, there's a hospital nearby. You can drive there. You can take a taxi. We can call a taxi, da-da-da-da. And I said to her, what about a doctor who can come here to our room? An on-call professional, an on-call doctor, a traveling doctor who speaks great English, who can come and basically put our worries to bed. She goes, oh, yeah, okay, well, we do have someone, but it's really expensive, and I don't know, it might just make more sense, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, listen, I understand your concern, but this is what we want. This is what I want. So we had a doctor come in, and it was roughly $1,300 US. But here's the thing. While the doctor was on their way to our room, we ordered room service. We were in a beautiful room. We were relaxed. We were in this peaceful, place. There was no chaos around us. It wasn't a crazy emergency hospital with bright white fluorescent lights and people crying and moaning in pain and any of this stuff that happens in hospitals, right? So we're waiting for the doctor. We have something to eat, and it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it could have felt like a much bigger deal if we had to make this big trip and whatever. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because when we think about our financial resources, when we think about the power of a business that we're all a part of, these are the moments of pure gratitude that reminds me, and we've talked about this a lot on different episodes, where like this is the shit that really matters. It's not necessarily the $1,300 designer bag or pair of shoes or whatever, which is cool. We have that too. But the $1,300 for peace of mind, to have a doctor come there in our suite, was amazing. I was like, man, this is badass. This is what I wish for you. This is what I wish for other people to be in this type of situation because it's so amazing. It's so worth it. So anyways, doctor comes, checks her out. Valentina fell asleep in my lap. I was holding her and it was pretty late by the time the doctor came. She fell asleep. She was wearing a t-shirt. He comes, checks it out, analyzes it, and he's like, yep, we see this often. It's an immune response. It's this. We can put this cream on it, take this antibiotic for 5 days, which we're not a fan of giving her antibiotics, and she's not really been on them most of her whole life. I think she's been on it once or twice in almost 4 years. But in this situation, it's like, okay, let's just do that to prevent it from getting worse, spreading potentially in her bloodstream or her arm or any of this funky stuff that can go down. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because, number one, the gratitude of being in a situation where this was just not a big deal was a huge blessing. And secondly, this is how our trip began, all right? With a surprise, with this concern, with health being jeopardized, with a toddler. And this is what a lot of people actually want to prevent. So they live in this state of fear around traveling with their kids, around the chaos, the uncertainty, the things you can't control. And a lot of the times they rather not travel with their kids because of these thoughts of things that might potentially happen. And while I understand that, the beauty on the other side of this was worth it and incredibly priceless for my family that we experienced, the rest of the trip. So we explored, we had a great time. We went around Tokyo, and funny enough, I took my K8 with me, and we were gone for 3 weeks. Obviously, my wife is pregnant, and I'm like, I just can't imagine us not getting access to Kangen water on this trip. And obviously, we can run around. We can see if other people have a machine. We can try to find an office. There's all this other stuff. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get ahead of it. I'm going to pack my K8. I'm going to pack all the adapters. I'm going to get this really nice protective case for the K8 and all the rest of it. So I was feeling pretty proud, right? I'm like, I'm a responsible guy, taking my K8. My family's going to have the best water for 3 weeks. We'll drink as much as we can. It's going to be great for my wife's pregnancy and all the rest of it. So we arrive there, take out the K8, go to set it up. I got every single freaking attachment you can get. And none of them fit. Oh, dang, are you serious? So now I'm trying to get access to finding an office. And I was following some people in Enagic on my social media, and a couple people posted that they found an office in Tokyo. So I check it out on my phone, and I realized that it's actually about a 20-minute walk. And so we wanted to get our steps in, get some exercise, explore the city. Let's go walk. So we put it in our phones. There wasn't an address, which is weird. It was just coordinates, like literally longitude, latitude type shit. I'm like, all right, man, we're 2024. This office literally has coordinates. What in the world is going on? Like this, I got to talk to somebody at corporate and someone at this office about fixing this because it's pretty ridiculous. So anyways, we get there and there's no sign anywhere. I'm looking at the blue dot on my GPS. I'm looking at all these buildings. There's subway stations below the ground. The instructions are telling me to go down the stairs to the subway. I'm like, why would Enagic have an office under the subway? It was all very confusing. Everything's in Japanese. There's no Enagic logos. There's no signs. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. So we're going down. We're lost. We can't find it. I asked some random Japanese fella who was nice enough to help us out at a travel agent. He's trying to figure it out. He's telling me upstairs. I'm like, all right, man. Anyways, long story short, finally someone points us in the right direction. We go into this office. It's on the 7th floor. We go up, the doors open, and it's this beautiful office. Brand new, renovated, looks gorgeous. But there was no branding. There was no signs anywhere outside on the windows, nothing. So first thing I'm like, listen, you guys got to make this a little bit easier to find, especially for people who don't speak Japanese. It's an international company. People are going to come visit, especially right now with Global Convention. And the guy's like, oh yeah, good point. So anyways, I buy these attachments, go back, and I'm like so happy, right? I'm like, I got the missing attachment that they sold, luckily, at the office. Go back, install it. I'm like, yes. But I didn't have the white big faucet diverter that comes with the machine. I only had the chrome one. But I needed the white diverter to make this particular attachment work, and I didn't think of that. Shucks, dang it. So I venture back, okay? Get the white thing, go back to the room, finally hook up the water. We start guzzling it and drinking so much, and it was amazing. Then the next day or 2 days later, we're checking out of the room, and when I was attaching the hose, I guess I was spinning and cranking this diverter into the faucet like 10 times more than it should have been. So I fastened this thing in beyond being able to remove it, basically. And I didn't really realize that. So here we are trying to take the piece out so we can put it in our next hotel in Okinawa, and I can't take it out. I call the engineer team. They come in. They're helping. We go get breakfast. They come back, and I see it, and it's removed, and I'm all happy. I'm like, yes, they helped me out. They had the tools. Amazing. Turns out they stripped the entire piece. I'm like, oh my goodness, are you serious? If I need this same piece at the next hotel in Okinawa, I won't be able to get one anymore. So on our way to the airport, I make the taxi, the car driver that we hired, stop there. I run upstairs. I buy 2 more of these little packages to have a backup on top of a backup. And I'm like sitting here shaking my head going, this is wild. Like the amount of effort that I had to put in Tokyo just to get the machine to work after I had prepared like a month before the trip. I was like, oh, right? Then we get to Okinawa, we check into our hotel room, and they had a little side kitchen area, like a butler's kitchen. And what do you know? Don't even need that piece. It was the other piece. Oh man, it was so funny. So anyways, I'm just telling you guys a story of like all the stuff that happens on trips, right? But we do it anyways. We get resourceful. We come up with solutions and we get the job done. We don't give up. We don't quit. We don't make excuses, right? And this actually builds our resilience. It builds our character. It makes us so much more efficient when we get back to our normal lives where there's way less obstacles and adversities and challenges. And there's a lot of people in the world who can barely function with the tiniest little bit of unpredictability that happens in their day-to-day life. You know what I'm saying? So when you travel and you basically are getting like nonstop surprises, nonstop, your daughter gets a cut, she's got a staph infection, your machine doesn't work, you got to go to the office 3 freaking times, right? It could be frustrating and it could be overwhelming and stressful and all these things. But if you keep an attitude of gratitude, if you have fun with it and you kind of laugh and you're like, this is hilarious, then what happens when you put yourself back into a less chaotic environment in your home country or your primary residence, all of a sudden you're more efficient, you're more effective, you crush day-to-day life so much easier because it just goes with the flow. Your routines are dialed, your systems are dialed, everything else. So this is like our first 3 days there, all right? Now, mind you, all along that this is going on, I'm still practicing, I'm still rehearsing for my closing speech. I'm still preparing. Now, while this is all going on, which I'm shaking off as not that big of a deal, I get an email from corporate telling me that my 20-minute speech has now been cut to only 5 minutes, and all the speakers only have 5 minutes. So obviously I'm shocked because I was told 20, now it's 5. I made a Facebook post about this, you might have seen it, and I had invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money to preparing my talk, preparing my slides, to preparing my walkout video. And now I'm in the middle of Tokyo with my family trying to figure out all this new stuff, different culture, different language, all of these things. And then I get this bomb dropped on me and I'm like, wait, what? Just pure shock. So now I'm completely checked out mentally because I'm thinking about how I got to make these adjustments while my daughter's asking me stuff and my mom needs stuff and my wife needs stuff. And it's just a lot, you know? So I start making just kind of made peace with it. Like, okay, this is what it is. I'm going to try to negotiate a little bit more time. I'm emailing back and forth. I'm talking to the person who told me I had 20 minutes. I'm letting them know, like, look, man, if you want high quality speeches, high quality speakers, impactful messages that shift people, that move people, that completely transforms people's lives, then you got to be mindful that this isn't a joke. This isn't a game. You can't tell somebody this and then, a week out or less than a week out, throw this curveball at them like it ain't no big deal. That's not how professional speakers operate. And I was actually trying to become more of a professional for this specific event. So just imagine how that feels when you're like, okay, how can I take my talks to the next level? I've done a lot of speaking. I've been to a lot of events and I've never tried this hard. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, this is in an arena. This is a big deal. This is 50 years of celebration, 50 years milestone, and we're moving into the diamond decade. We're moving into the next 50 years. And I got the honor to be the final speaker. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't really understand this level of attention to detail, this level of love and care, and it wasn't about me, right? The thing that a lot of people mistake and the thing that a lot of people get confused is that they think that I wanted the speech to be about me. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, I didn't even share anything about my life. I didn't share my journey to success. I didn't share none of that because of the time that I had. I wanted it to all be for the people in the room, the people in the arena, the people in the audience. So I'm just like, what am I going to do So anyways, we get there and it's like now there's all these events going on. My schedule is packed. The first day we had a charity gala for 200 people with the rank of 6A2-2 or above, and it was $1,000 US per seat. And it was all going to charity and giving back to the kids. And I love Mr. Oshiro's heart. He's always looking for ways to impact more people and give back to more people. And I was happy to contribute. So as a 6A2-6, we were allowed to buy a maximum of 5 seats. I bought all 5. I took my family and my good friend and videographer Vitaly, and we went and did that. And it was really just a beautiful evening. But in the back of my mind, I'm still going, man, I'm still reading my talk on my phone. I'm still trying to prepare. I'm like, what do I cut out? Which stories do I omit? Which slides do I omit? So I'm still in the state of like starting to panic a little bit, you know? And at the same time, people coming up to me saying hi, wanting a photo, all this stuff going on. I'm on stage, I'm on camera. You know what I mean? I'm just like, man, this is getting pretty intense. So then we get back, go to bed. The next day, we have the VIP dinner. And so it was back-to-back days of being at the EAPA facility, the Golf Country Club, and it was pretty full on. So then we go back. And what was really fascinating about this is that we went back there, and one of the things I wanted to talk about with you on this episode is the dynamic of being a big leader and the dynamic of having so many 6A2s, 6As, -2s, -3s, -4s, -5s in my business. And I think last time I looked, it was like 65 people at 6A2-3 and above. We have 400 or 500 6A2s. Like the numbers are pretty staggering. And on one hand, when you work online and you're in your bubble in your house and you just communicate through like webcam and stuff, it's cool that you see those numbers, right? You're like, wow, the impact of this is massive. And it's a completely different thing when the majority of those individuals who are still actively building this business are now in one place, okay? And so what ended up happening to me that I didn't anticipate, that I didn't really see coming, was how impossible it was for me to actually go around, talk to people, say hi, catch up, have a conversation, and that kind of stuff. Because it literally, I did not have the capacity. I did not have the time. And I actually started to feel really sad. And you may not understand this based on where you are in your business right now, because maybe you have close friendships and connections with everybody in your group, and maybe you talk to all the leaders in your team and your organization and your downline and all that stuff. And I remember those days as well. There was a period in my life years back where I knew everybody. I spoke to the majority, if everyone that I could. And it starts to kind of slip out of your fingers, and there's nothing you can do about it. And on one hand, it's the most beautiful thing because that's kind of a major part of why I started this business. I had goals to one day have over 1,000 6As in my business. And it's flying. We had, I think, 60 people hit 6A in May. So it's becoming more than 1, 2, and then soon it will be 3 new 6As a day. So how can one individual, one leader, truly build those relationships and stay in touch and see everybody and take a photo and hang out? It literally starts to become impossible. And so that night at the VIP dinner was about 500 people there. And what was interesting is that certain people have had a problem with me or don't want to talk to me anymore or have blamed me for something or projected their trauma onto me or whatever, just all kinds of different scenarios. And I'm not saying that I've never made a mistake or maybe it was my fault or any of that, but I'm mature enough to want to fix things. I want to, get past this kind of stuff, but not everybody does. So there's a level of like, now I'm in this room and I could feel the eyes on me. I could feel like the haters. I could feel this negativity. And on the flip side, I could also feel the love. I could feel the respect. I could feel the admiration. And so I was kind of like feeling both sides of these really strong emotions. And on top of that, I was like, man, this actually hurts my heart because I want to be close with everybody. I want to support everybody. You know, I'm everybody's biggest fan of creating the success, and I'm happy for their success and all this kind of thing. And so it was kind of a weird feeling, and I can't recall that feeling ever before. And we're still talking the 500 people VIP dinner. So as the night progresses, there's all these people going up on stage, which is really, really amazing. And the whole premise around this was two things. The first thing was that Enagic was celebrating its 50th anniversary. And June 21st, the day of the VIP dinner, was the official 50th anniversary birthday of Enagic. So, of course, it's all about Enagic, the history, all the achievements, Mr. Shiro, of course, and that's amazing. But there was this other side to it, which was a VIP invitation only based on a global contest that they put on for 6 months. And if you placed in the top 40 and you won a bonus for that month, then they sent you a special invitation that you're a top producer, you're a top leader, and you get invited to this day. And so what was really fascinating about this is that my belief is that when there's a contest and there's a ranking system of first place, second place, third place, and so on, of course you get a different amount of money in the bonus. But this particular contest also had Enagic's very first handicap, which was designed to keep the playing field even. So someone who was a really high-ranking person and someone who was a 6A had a different handicap for the sales volume that was generated in their business. Anyways, in this 6-month contest, my position of 6A2-6 placed first every single month for 6 months. And by the end of the contest, second place wasn't even close. I had pretty much doubled the contest points from second place. So it was unanimous ass whooping in the contest. And so here I am going, this VIP dinner is to celebrate the top producers and obviously make some sort of acknowledgement of who placed what. And as we get towards the end of the night, there wasn't really any talk about the contest. It was almost like the contest was irrelevant, which was kind of weird. And then they gave some award to someone who's actually in GPM. Her name is Jen, and she got some award on stage as a top leader, top producer, whatever. And I'm actually super happy for her. She deserves it. She crushed it. You know, her team is blowing up and all of that stuff. So this has nothing to do with her and no bad blood to her and nothing like that. What was interesting, though, is there's no mention of my position placing first, okay? And there's a leaderboard, there's a ranking system for a reason. Now, I know this might sound egotistical or it might sound, selfish to some people or like, oh, whatever, Balazs, you're making it about you. But the reality is that if it was anybody who placed first for 6 months straight and they don't get acknowledgement, there's no photo, there's no nothing, right? Wouldn't you feel kind of weird? Wouldn't that make you kind of be like, wait a second, what just happened? And so I was disappointed. Let's just put it that way. I was disappointed. I was confused. I didn't understand. Me and Mr. Ashiro are super close. So I was just like, I don't get it. So then same thing with the speeches that night. So they came around and they said, well, Balazs, because, you're speaking tomorrow, you're not going to speak today. We're going to give someone else a chance to speak and you're speaking tomorrow. And so when I went to bed, I was like, all right, well, maybe they're just going to acknowledge the first place in the contest more officially tomorrow in front of 8,000 people. And they never did. There was one little tiny mention by the MC right when I came out around it, but it was just almost like it didn't feel as legit, let's say. Like it was just kind of like, all right, whatever. Now, the reason I'm really sharing this with you guys is because most of my life, this has been the cards that I've been dealt. And in my talk, I talked about, if you can't change the cards you're dealt, change how you play your hand. And I've always been an underdog. I've always been underappreciated. I've always had these things happen to me. And I sometimes just don't understand why, right? Like, how do you win first place in a contest for 6 months? Something that was a goal of mine for like my entire time with this company. And then it almost gets washed to the side. And then somebody else who did amazing in the contest, but they weren't first, get that acknowledgement. That's weird, right? So I sat with that. I was like, okay. And mind you, I'm still trying to figure out what to change about my talk the next day. So finally, I'm up late at night. I decide to cut out some of the slides and make these adjustments and aim for 10 minutes instead of 20, 50% less of my talk. Then we go and we have a talk. I forgot to mention this. That same day on the 21st, we had a speakers meeting. And at the speakers meeting, they were basically telling us what they wanted us to talk about in our speeches, certain things that we should mention, and so on and so on. And I'm literally listening going, I can't believe that this is going on. You know, like this is the day before the event. Are these people not prepared? Are these people still going to wing it? It didn't really make much sense. So I'm just so confused trying to figure this out. We get back to the room, we go to bed, wake up in the morning. It's super early. We're trying to get, everybody dressed, everybody organized, got the kids, got my mom, got my wife, got my 3-year-old. We're getting all ready to go. Head over to the arena. I'm calm. I'm getting all psyched up. I'm like, this is going to be all good. Everything's going to be great. And we arrive and pull up, and my daughter literally, like when the brakes came on, projectile vomits on herself. Oh my gosh, couldn't believe it, right? And the puking wasn't that big of a deal, right? I was more concerned about the shock factor of my wife now being in this uncomfortable situation, having to go back to the hotel by herself in a foreign country, language she doesn't really understand, and that whole protective feeling of like, I don't want to let them go without me, but this event is starting. My top leaders, Clint and Christy, are up first literally in like 20 minutes from now. Right? Like that feeling, and you're like, So we figured it out. She went back to the hotel. I went inside. Now I'm worried about them. I'm not sure if my daughter's like super sick. Was it just like a vomit thing? My daughter never vomits. It's not something she does. So obviously there's that feeling of maybe she's got food poisoning, maybe this, maybe that. She's eating different foods that are whatever, right? You don't know. Oh man, now that's messing with my mindset. Then Clint and Christy go up. They did an amazing job. They had a whole bunch of curveballs thrown at them also. And while I'm watching them front row, in front, like 8,000 people in the arena, I'm sitting at this table, pretty much front row to the stage at this table. They don't get their clicker. And they had slides as well. And they invested a lot of time and money into preparing for this talk also. And so they don't get the clicker. And I'm watching this going, oh man, do they not have the PowerPoint set up? Like, do they not have the clicker set up? And I'm like up later on that day, and my slides were a really big part of what I wanted to share. So now I'm going, what if I don't have a clicker? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, maybe there's no clicker for anybody. Oh man, what am I going to do? So now I'm thinking again, okay, how do I make my speech make sense without the visual, which was a really important part of what I wanted to share? So the reason I'm getting at this is because a lot of you listening right now are in a leadership level where you're 1A all the way up to 6A or 6A2 or something like that. And that's amazing. But your experience of going to these conventions by yourself with a few people, with a smaller team, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people, is so much more manageable. It's so much more attainable to have small events, meetups at the beach, renting out like an Airbnb where everybody can hang out. Those days are so beautiful. They're so special. Those connections, how close everybody is. It's like a memory you'll never forget. And I've had those trips too. But man, at this level, the experience that actually happens is completely night and day from what everybody else thinks. So anyways, so now after Clint's and Christy's amazing talk, and they pulled it off without slides, and they had their talk like very well rehearsed, very well memorized. I was super impressed. I'm starting to panic a little bit, and I decide, you know what? I can't afford to sit here and listen to the other talks and the other stuff going on. And I even missed a lot of the rank up celebrations walking across the stage, which I was really sad about. I wanted to be there taking pictures and videos and cheering for people in my team, the people that I knew, the people I recognized, the people I have a relationship with, that I've coached, that I've mentored. I've watched their journeys. Like, that's so important to me. But I'm at the same time going, man, I'm up soon and I'm super unprepared. And it's not that I was unprepared because I was actually over-prepared. I was unprepared with the curveballs. I was unprepared with all these unpredictable things thrown at me. So I go in the back of the room. I'm still trying to find out if my wife and my daughter are okay. I'm texting them. I'm worried about them. Are they coming back? Are they not? All this stuff. I'm in the back room. I'm pacing. I'm on my phone. I'm looking at my slides. I'm trying to be like, hey, these are the ones I took out. So these are the ones that are left over. This is my talk. This is the section I missed. And every time I was reading back my notes, I kept getting confused. I'm like, no. Like, I got to say this piece for this to make sense. And the way that we wrote my talk with Tariq, who is an amazing speaker and someone I hired to help me, was we wrote it in a way where there's things called motifs. And motifs are like a theme that you keep weaving and bringing back throughout the talk. So we mentioned in the beginning, we weave it in the middle and we weave it out. So because it was so complex, there was so many underlying messages around this idea of passing of the torch, the next generation, that you're a seed like bamboo that doesn't break through the soil for 5 years, but you must water it every single day without seeing any fruit or any result of the growth. We had all this stuff weaved in, right? And so I pulled out pieces. It was like I was massacring this beautiful creation. I was like, oh man, this is so fucked up. And then my wife messages me. She's like, we're on our way back. It's going to be okay. She's feeling great. We got her changed. I'm like, oh, sigh of relief. So then all this stuff happens. I'm in the back. I'm feeling really amazing. I'm like, okay, my family's okay. I got this talk dialed in, 10 minutes. It's all I need. I'm making peace with all of it. And right before it was my turn, the MC comes up to me and he's like, you know what? We're on schedule. We're doing great. Everything's awesome. Just do your original talk. It's all good. And walks away. And I go, wait, what? Oh no, my slides are gone. I had deleted them. I had already given it to the production team. They need it in advance to prepare to set it all up, so they just click a couple buttons. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go up. So this is just giving you some insight, some behind the scenes of how crazy it could be to be a top leader, to be on the big stage, to prepare and try so hard to give love and change people's lives with your message. And I share all this with you not to make excuses, not to have any sort of pity party or any of that stuff. I simply share it with you that this comes with the success. This comes with the massive amounts of people in your business. This comes with the great lifestyle and the freedom and the impact and the income and all this stuff. It's not all easy by any means. It's not all effortless. Sometimes in these big moments, it feels like the whole entire company and your whole entire downline, hundreds of thousands of people are like all staring at you, all eyes are on you, all this pressure is on you, and it's pretty nuts. It's pretty intense. And I'm grateful that this doesn't happen too often, just, basically once a year for 3 days to 7 days or whatever. But man, is it like, wow. Just the level of energy that you receive is so hard to hold, right? And so anyways, so I did my talk and things just weren't connecting. You know what I mean? It's that feeling of like, you have it within yourself, you're capable, you're prepared. All of that is there within you. So you have the confidence, you have the certainty, you can do it. You were made for the moment. It's that feeling. But it's just not coming out right. And the slides aren't working right. I didn't have one of those monitors where I could like see my slides. So I kept having to look up, which is like the worst thing. Like, you never want to be looking up like that as a speaker. It just makes it so much more difficult. And yeah, I messed up, right? And I got towards the end and the lights came on and everybody had their phones on, and I was like, wow, this is so much better, so much cooler than all the visualizing that I did. I was like, I literally just wanted to like just take it in and not even say anything and just be like, whoa. And then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta close the talk. And the music started, and it was just like it was like rolling before you were ready for it to roll. That's how it felt, right? I was like, oh man. So I started talking. Then I had this whole plan for people to repeat after me, saying I am. And then I asked the question wrong, so like I am didn't actually make sense. So people were like, I am, but like, and then I heard it. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I messed that up. I took a moment, I had a little laugh, and then I felt this sense of like relief and this sense of peace, and took a moment, recomposed myself, and then I did my best to finish it off. But what a lot of people don't understand is this like perfect, I don't even want to use the word perfect because it comes across the wrong way. There was this intention and this impact and this message and this delivery that I wanted to convey, right? A certain tonality, a certain energy, a certain roar in the room, in the arena. The I am just shaking the freaking building, creating so much energy that this portal opens up. We all enter through it, and we never return back to the way that we were before we walked in through those doors of the arena. That's how I visualized it. I saw it so clearly. I saw 8,000 people all standing up. I am, right? Lights on. Man, it was glorious. And I thought about it so much. And then when it happened, it wasn't quite the same. It was like I actually felt the resistance from like part of the people in the room, the arms crossed, the kind of like, whatever, man, I don't really care. I felt that from some people, but I also felt the love. I also felt the tears. I also felt the life-changing passing of the torch message was landed, and it was delivered, and it got through to a lot of people in the room, in the arena. And it was just this really interesting way of processing all of that energy simultaneously. You know what I mean? So when I did my visualizations of that moment, I visualized the standing ovation. I visualized standing there at the stage and just sort of closing my eyes and feeling the applause and feeling the love, taking it all in for a moment, and actually being okay with receiving love, receiving gratitude, right? Because I give so much. I'm always giving, and I rarely receive. And it's out of balance. So I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I give this powerful talk and then I also get a chance to receive for like 10 seconds? I'll talk for 20 minutes and I'll receive for 10 seconds. That was how I pictured it. But as I started to mess up and the slides weren't coming out and my stories were all jumbled up and my clothes was all messed up, I had that feeling of like the blushing, like when you try to ask a girl for her phone number and then she says no and you're just blushing and you're so embarrassed. I started to have that feeling inside. I was like, man, get off the stage, dude. You probably went way past 10 minutes, get the hell out of here. That was like the feeling I had. So I kind of quickly rushed off the side, screwed up my plan. My videographer, Vitaly, we had this whole plan of like how I was going to lead the stage and how he was going to be able to film this like really epic B-roll shot that I would cherish for the rest of my life and all this stuff. And instead I was like, fuck that plan. I'm out of here. Started to walk off the stage, and I was going to go like up the side and like slap a few people's hands and say hi and whatever. And I was like, nope, don't want to do none of that. Turned around, tried to leave, and all of a sudden I just felt Mr. Oshiro come up and give me this congratulations, raise my arm up like as a champion, as someone who's first place. He like grabbed my wrist, raised it up. Then like we had this really special hug, and he closed his eyes and he gave me this squeeze, and it just felt like such a warm embrace. And to be completely honest, that is exactly what I felt like I needed in that moment. I was like, oh man, because I also felt like I let him down, right? I let the company down. I let everybody in the room down. So to get that embrace from him, even though he may have not given that to me based on how I was feeling, he may have given it to me for a completely different reason that I don't even know. It was just special. It was so beautiful. And then I went in the back, walked into the bathroom, and just bawled my eyes out. And I very rarely cry. I'll be completely honest. I get the occasional gratitude tear, but it's very rarely like tears, And I just had this big release. These tears, it was mixed emotions. Part of me was really happy. Part of me was sad. Part of me was disappointed. It was like all the emotions at once. And then I just was like in the bathroom, and it was such a weird feeling. It's like when you're not at your best, going back into a room of 8,000 people and feeling like they're all judging you and staring at you and making fun of you or like talking about how like you bombed your talk and you messed it up. Even though that may not be the case, if you think that and that's kind of what you feel, you don't want to show your face. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I can't believe I'm fucking hiding in this bathroom right now. Like, what is going on? This is messed up. And so it was, I just wanted to, really share how if you've ever been through something like this, obviously not necessarily in front of 8,000 people in an arena at the 50th anniversary convention, but even on a completely different scale. Maybe you did a webinar and you felt like you bombed it, and as soon as it ended, you wanted to just get off and close the window and exit, and then you just sat there in front of your computer bawling your eyes out because you think you're like a failure or you screwed it up or none of those people will ever buy from you, or, I get it. And that's happened to me along my journey as well, but this was just like a fucking atomic bomb of that feeling. The feeling is the same. The magnitude of the event can continue to grow and climb. And after a while, I gathered myself, I washed my face, drank a bunch of 9.5, I shook it off, and I said, you know what, man? It is what it is. If that's how some people think about it, fine. If I made an impact and they enjoyed the talk, amazing. I'm grateful. And I walked back out. And then the most beautiful thing happened. I started having people coming up to me, thanking me, wanting to have a photo. And I was like, okay, maybe it didn't suck that bad. Maybe I didn't screw up so much. And then it was like, man, that talk changed my life. Man, that was incredible. I cried, and I'm with my family, and I told my kids that I'm passing the torch to them, and they were telling me that they want to carry the torch. And all of a sudden, the love started to fill back up, in my heart. And I was like getting this sense of relief. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just being really hard on myself. Maybe I'm completely out of touch with what actually happened and what I thought happened. And I'm starting to kind of be like, okay, next thing you know, there's hundreds of people waiting in line in the middle of the event. There was no intermission. There was no break. It was like 3 p.m, okay? Maybe 3:30, something like that. There's a lineup of people. Now I'm talking to people. I'm meeting people from my team. I'm meeting people inside my Diamond Life mentorship for the very first time. People giving me hugs, photos, their children. It was beyond amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it. I kept looking over my shoulders and being like, that line can't possibly be to come say hi to me. There's no way. That's weird, right? And I'm like, okay, I guess this is going down. And then it was all such a blur. And the thing that I want you guys to understand is that each and every one of you are special people. Each and every one of you are a beautiful soul. You're all important. You're all relevant. But what makes it tricky for someone like myself is that I genuinely want to connect with you. I want to hear your story. I want to hear your heart. I want to have the hug and all the things. But it's also really hectic when there's like a really long lineup of all these people who all want the same thing. So what happened was, as I spoke to each and every one of you, I just was starting to really feel the magnitude of the impact that I have, and also the magnitude of this podcast, because the one common denominator from all those people who came and said hi to me was that they love my podcast, that they listen to every episode, that they listen to it in the gym, going for a walk with their kids, with their spouse. People were telling me that, their spouses are now wanting to build the business with them and create legacy income because of the podcast. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, really? That's incredible. So I was literally blown away. And now the event kept going on. I completely missed the whole event. I didn't even really look on stage. I didn't even know what people were talking about. It was crazy. It really was. And I stayed from about 3 or 3:30, can't remember, whatever time it started, the people coming and saying hi and taking a photo, all the way till the building closed. The lights got shut down. The people were taking everything off. They even came up and said, like, if you don't leave, you got to put a hard hat on, like this kind of stuff. I'm like, whoa, what? And I was like the last person to leave the arena. And it was like 8:45, 9 p.m. So for 6.5, 7 hours, whatever it was, I spoke to everybody I possibly could. I took a photo and made videos and talked to their kids and played with the kids. And as much as I could, I literally emptied all of the love and gave it back, because that's how much you guys mean to me. That's how much this life, this journey, this business, this community, all of it is what it means to me. And it's so interesting that I feel like I cannot share the gratitude enough. I cannot give back enough. I cannot let people know enough how much you guys mean to me and how special all of this is, and how challenging it is when you see the numbers climbing up and there's thousands upon thousands of new people starting every single day. And while I'm so grateful and it's so incredible, at the same time, I'm like, there's no way I can meet all these people. There's no way I can follow all these people on social media. There's no way I can see their stories and see, you know what I mean? So I'm like, wow, this is wild. So anyway, that happened. Then I went back after the event, and I just couldn't shake this feeling like I screwed up my talk, that it could have been better. I could have made a bigger impact. I could have really, truly changed people's lives in a way where they'll never give up on this business. They'll never give up on creating a legacy. They'll never underestimate the true power and potential that they have within themselves, that they are the chosen one in their generations of poverty and scarcity and lack, and all of their ancestors that came before them to bring them into this moment right now. And I was like just beating myself up, man. Couldn't sleep. It was haunting me. I kept, reliving the moment in my mind, being like, that was the time, man, right there. That's when you should have said that thing. You knew what to say, man. Why didn't it come out of your mouth? You knew. Dude, it was brutal. It was brutal. It was like psychological abuse on myself, So that night was really, really rough. And mind you, it was this thing, once again, where part of me was like, wow, I can't believe I met all those beautiful people and their families and their kids. So there was that, right? I felt that as well. But then this lingering, like haunting back of my mind being like, nah, man, you could have done better. You dropped the ball, dude. That was like the Super Bowl. That was the biggest event. You crumbled under pressure. You could have done better. You know what I'm saying? So, man, it was rough. And then the next day, we relaxed, we chilled. I went to the spa. I had like this deep tissue massage. I'm like, get all of this stuck regret, energy and stuff, just massage it out of my body. So I had an amazing massage. It was really chilling. And one thing that I'll share too, just so you guys understand that like this kind of stuff happens for us top leaders. And I can't speak for other leaders because I don't know how their mindset is. I don't know how they operate. But my guess would be that a lot of them feel similarly to how I was feeling. And when we make a mistake or we feel like we don't live up to our potential, it's really, really hard. And so all these people were tagging me in these little clips, right, of me speaking on stage, my talk from when we accepted the awards, which was so special. Like my favorite moment of the whole day was when my daughter was poking me and tapping me. And at first I didn't know what was going on. And then I kind of looked down and I was like, wait a second, is that Valentina? And I look over and I'm like, would you like to say something? And she's like, yeah. And then I give her the mic. She kind of freezes, and I'm like, I know what that feels like, baby girl, in my head, right? And I'm like, change your water, change your life. And she says it in the cutest, most precious little voice. I want to just bottle it up forever. And I'm so grateful for that moment. And she's so proud of herself and keeps talking about it all these like couple weeks later. And it was literally a permission slip for my daughter, who's 3.5, to speak on stage one day, to perform on stage one day, to be in front of all these people one day, and not have a fear around it, and have this like golden, beautiful moment at such a young age. And I was like, all of the shit that I've been feeling and everything that I went through, that moment right there, from her having the staph infection to all the crazy stuff of traveling with a toddler, all for that 10 seconds was worth it. And that's like the business that we're in, right? There's so many things that happen, so many challenges, so many adversities, all this stuff. But you'll have those moments in the future, if you haven't experienced them yet, of freedom, connection, presence, being able to travel the world or take your parents or something to a beautiful, whatever it might be. And you're like, that right there, that is all that I needed for everything else in the past to make it worth it. That's how I felt when my daughter said that. I was like, wow. Like, I built this business for 7 years before she was born. And to have my daughter, who I built this for, say, change your water, change your life on stage at the 50th anniversary in front of 8,000 people, words cannot explain how special that was. Anyways, there's so much I want to talk about, and this episode's already almost an hour long. So I'm going to make this one a little bit longer than usual, I guess, and I'll just keep sharing. But the next day we had the massage. So what I was going to say is all these people were tagging me in these clips, and I was actually afraid. Afraid is not the right word. I was not afraid. I was avoiding checking those stories in my DMs in my inbox and watching them and resharing them and having a look, because I was avoiding it because I thought that when I would see the clips, it would remind me of how I screwed up my talk. So now I'm like not even checking. There's literally hundreds of them. And I get my massage and I'm feeling relaxed. I'm feeling like, okay, I don't want these stories to expire. I don't want to lose these moments and lose these memories and all the effort that people put into like tagging me and posting it. And I know how much time that takes for people to do that on their social media. So I start watching these clips. And for the most part, there was a few that I was like, oh, that's where I screwed up. And there was a few that kind of reminded me of it. But for the most part, they were really beautiful. They were really kind messages. They were really positive messages. And I started to feel like it wasn't as bad as I thought. And by the way, for anybody listening to the podcast, if you have those little clips on your phone, the videos being like anywhere in the arena, doesn't matter where you were sitting, it's all good. But those little clips or pictures of me on stage with my family or me speaking on stage or any of that, and if you could please send it to me on Instagram or Facebook Messenger, or probably Instagram DMs would be the best place to send it. Or I also posted something in the GPM Race to 682 Facebook group that said, like, do you have pictures or videos? Put it in this Google Drive folder. So either one of those, Instagram DMs or that Google Drive folder, could you please send me those clips without the writing on it? Like, I appreciate the message, I appreciate the writing, and I shared all of them as much as I could. But if you have the raw clip without the writing on top and no editing or anything, could you please send that to me? Because I'm trying to make a video where I could actually have those different angles and perspectives that I don't have. That would be beautiful. Please send them to me. That would be amazing. Anyways, so I reshared all of them, and then we had a VIP dinner for another event that was being put on for the Freedom Era, and that was the VIP dinner. It was in a beautiful setting, sunset location. You know, they always do such an amazing job with putting these events on. And once again, here I am with a very, very small fraction of my overall organization globally. There was probably 200 people there, 250 or something. I'm not even sure how many people were there. And we get to this one part of the evening where they're doing awards for people who have made money, who have hit ranks, who have quit their jobs, all this kind of stuff. And there was a moment where they said, actually, if you're a 4A, come up to the stage right now. And literally like 70% of the people there stood up and came to the stage. And then Christy was like, if you're higher ranking than 4A, please go and sit down. This is only for 4As. And nobody went back and sat down. And as a leader of this massive business globally, to see that is just unbelievable, right? And many of these individuals, I don't even know their names. Not because I don't want to, it's just because I haven't had a chance to meet them, connect with them, get to know them, etc. But they're winning. They're making their dreams a reality. They're overcoming all the things that you have to overcome to be successful. And I'm standing there in awe. Wow. It's wild, man. I think I have almost 5,000 people in my organization at 4A. And in that room, there was like 100 people who came on the stage at 4A. I was like, what? And that's the thing, is that these events, man, they reconnect you to your purpose. They reconnect you to your why. They bring the soul and the love and the heart and the realization of what we're really doing right to the forefront. Because when you see a number on a screen and you see sales and you see this and you see money in the bank account, all of that is amazing. But when you see real human beings dancing, jumping, smiling, taking selfies, celebrating, being so happy and proud of themselves, and you witness that, and you know that you were partially responsible, just a little tiny bit responsible for that success. They did all the work, don't get me wrong. But all those years ago when I had to overcome as much shit that I've had to overcome as well, and I didn't quit, and I didn't give up, and I kept putting in the work, and I kept showing up, doing my best, that contributed to what I was witnessing. Wow. And so I'm like, this is just unbelievable. Now, the last little part that I'll share is the next day after that, we had the full event for 800 people. And that was the TFE main event. 800 people from the Freedom Era were at this event, literally 2 days after an 8,000 person global convention. What? My hat's off to the Freedom Era. Like, that's just next level in terms of planning, preparing, energy, a little bit crazy. Like, it was full on, for me. It was literally 6 consecutive days of events, photos, meeting people, energetically. I didn't eat for 3 days, I think. I had a protein bar and an apple for my meals. I was so busy I couldn't go to the bathroom. Every time I tried to go to the bathroom, I took like 12 photos from the room I was standing in with a lineup to the bathroom and back. It was absolutely wild. And I'm grateful. I'm not complaining. But just so you know, like, I'm a human. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to eat. Like, I got to sleep, even though I slept like 5 hours a night. It's a lot, man. And so my hat's off to them. So anyways, we go to this event, 800 person. And I always tell the Freedom Era that I feel like they're the heart of GPM, because the amount of vulnerability, emotion, transparency, connection is just on a whole nother level from most of the communities that I've been a part of, that I've spoken at their events, that I've got a chance to meet. They're just such an open book of love and emotions and stuff. And so every time I'm around that proximity of those leaders, it feels like that part of me comes out, like way more open, way more vulnerable, way more whatever. And so here I am listening to all the speakers at the event, and it was like going to be my turn in the afternoon, and then it kept getting pushed back and kept getting pushed back and kept getting pushed back. The event was going longer and all this stuff, and it was an amazing day. And I think it was like 6 o'clock, and I was supposed to talk at 2 or something like that. So now I didn't eat all day because I don't like to eat before I speak. I get burps and indigestion and like all this kind of stuff. So I just like, nah, I'm good. I don't like to eat until I'm done speaking. Then I can kind of like, okay, have something to eat. So I on purpose didn't eat all day that time until 6. And then it was my turn to talk up on stage, and I just had this like intuition to start with gratitude. And, I publicly shared my love for my wife, all the support, all the love, all the things we've been through together. We literally started together with nothing. And she's been by my side and supportive and been like helping me so much in different ways over the years to build this beautiful life, to build this big business, make this impact, etc. So it started with gratitude with my wife. It started with gratitude for my mom. And the way I was introduced on the speaker is that none of us would be here without this individual. Give your hands up for Balazs. And then when I got up on stage, I'm like, oh, when you said that, I actually thought that my mom was the next speaker. Because that's the reality, is that my mom found Enagic, and we're all here because of my mom. So I gave her flowers. I gave her gratitude that she deserves. And then after that, I had this other intuition of my friend Vitaly, who I've known for many years, like over 12 years, 13, 14 years, can't even remember, but it's been a really, really long time. And we've supported each other all these years. We've been really close friends, and he's one of the most solid dudes that I know. And he's been to 4 conventions with me. 2019, I think 2020, there was no convention because of the pandemic BS. So 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. Anyway, so he's been with me for a lot of events, filming, taking pictures, being there, supporting me, all this stuff. And last year in Las Vegas, he said that he sees it. He sees the vision. He gets it. And he wants to actually build Enagic and, be mentored by me, and he's my direct and all this kind of stuff. He's had a machine for like 8 years, a K8 and Ukon, and it's helped him with his back and his health and his family and all these positive things. His kids only drink Kangen water. So he's had all the belief and all the value from the product, but for whatever reason, the business just wasn't the right timing. And so I thought, what opportunity would it be to actually put Vitaly on the spot in front of 800 people and have him do a line in the sand moment and actually declare that from this day forward, he's doing Enagic, he's taking it seriously, he's going to create the lifestyle, freedom, and legacy for his family. And I did that. I gave him his props. I put him in a chair. I gave him live coaching, live mentoring, asked him tough questions, gave him the microphone. He shared a few words. And then I asked everybody to cheer him on and to embrace him and to give him this official welcome into this journey of building this business. And everybody in the room stood up on their feet. Vitaly, 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 cheering, cheering, cheering. And he just had this moment. He put his hands up like this with the microphone. And if you go to his Instagram or his Facebook, you'll see the photo. He has his hands up like this with a mic. 800 people standing, cheering like this, screaming for him, right? He had this moment, took it all in. And man, this is so meaningful to me, right? Because when we have a stage, when we have an audience, when we have influence, when we have power, yes, we can use it for ourselves, and yes, we can do branding, and yes, we can do it, but we can also change lives. We can pull people up on stage and transform people in real time. And so I did it for my wife, boom. I did it for my mother, boom. I did it for Vitaly, boom. Right? And that was like probably 25 minutes of my talk, and I was supposed to have 45 minutes. I didn't even talk about anything to do with me up until that. And so, me and Vitaly had a fist bump. And another beautiful part about this was that my daughter Valentina kept wanting to come up on the stage. She felt comfortable. She felt like it was safe. So she would leave my wife's arms. They were sitting together. She'd just come up and embrace me and give me a hug on the leg or say, hey, daddy, or I want to sit on a chair or just whatever. And one of the things I vowed and promised myself was that I would never miss these special moments where I was too uptight or too whatever to be a speaker and to be all this and to, get off the stage or not right now or get back to you later. I'm always going to be a husband and a father and a family man first. And so even in the moments where I'm a leader in front of a lot of people or I'm speaking on stage or this kind of stuff, I will never push my family to the side, ever. I will never make them wait. I will never tell them later. And I want her to normalize this lifestyle. I want her to normalize impacting and leading and speaking and changing people's lives. I want her to see me doing it and then her be like, that's just what we do in this family. And it's already showing. It's already showing. Even just her tapping on me and wanting to share Change Your Water, Change Your Life, a couple of days prior, and dancing in front of me and doing her ballet moves in front of 8,000 people with no fear. I'm like cheering her on. I'm like, yeah, baby girl, let me see those moves. I'm like, do that little spin move. She's like smiling. She's like, okay, daddy. You know what I mean? That to me is the most powerful thing ever. She was comfortable up there. She was giving me a hug. She was feeling so free. She was like kind of flying like a butterfly and closing her eyes and waving her hands and doing all this kind of stuff in front of everybody. And then all of a sudden she would feel a little bit nervous and like come up and hug my head, hug my leg, hug my head, hug my leg. Like, I don't know, daddy, is it okay? I'm scared. Is it okay? And I'd be like, tap her on her head. And I'd be like, no, girl, let me see those moves. You're doing amazing. You're so beautiful. Give her that affirmation, give her that confirmation. Then she'd be like, look up at me. Okay, keep doing it. Priceless. Literally the best thing ever. And after all that, I said, you know what? I'm going to share the story of what happened with my talk. So I gave the whole backstory around how we went to Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, how I found my jacket with the sparkles and it was like the diamond night sky. And I was like, that's the jacket. And I gave this whole long talk and I'll share it with you guys when I get access to the replay. You guys can listen to it on the podcast and on YouTube. But the special part about this was that leading up to my talk that day, there was so much vulnerability, so much transparency. Everybody was sharing the obstacles, the challenges, the things that they had to overcome just in the past week of being in Japan. And a lot of things were going on in the Freedom Era community. And like my heart goes out to them because they really got their asses kind of handed to them with online bullying and cyber bullies and all this kind of stuff. It was really, really, really tough. And they overcame that adversity and I've never seen them so in their power, and it was so beautiful. And so all of this was happening during the day. And even Brooke March, she had this talk around like your vulnerability is your power. And when she said that, she kind of made eye contact with me and she looked at me. And Brooke, if you're listening, I saw what you did there. and she looked at me, vulnerability is your power. And she kind of made eye contact with me. And I just kind of went, all right, I got the nudge. I got the message. When it's my turn to speak, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to share all this stuff. So I ended up delivering this talk off the cuff, in flow, about everything that happened with my talk. And the 800 people in the room, majority of them had no clue, no idea that it was as big of a deal to me, that I felt so disappointed and all this stuff. So at the very end of the event was over. It was like 9 o'clock at night. It went like 3 or 4 hours over the scheduled ending. We decided to redo the ending that I felt that I messed up on. And so I put on the music. I read it off my phone because I didn't want to mess it up even by one word based on all the rehearsing that I did. So I like read it. I got super in the moment. I felt like Braveheart when Mel Gibson yells freedom in front of the cavalry. You know what I'm talking about? If you've seen that movie, it's literally iconic, like freedom, and just fucking all the cavalry, they start, I felt like that. I was channeling that. And we did the talk and everyone's yelling, I am, the lights are on. And I just let out this roar at the end. And it was a standing ovation the way I had imagined it in the arena. And I had this feeling of redemption. I had this feeling of closure. I had this feeling of receiving the love back from the room of these 800 amazing people. And they cheered, and I was nodding my head, and a tear was coming in my eye, and I was just kind of shaking. And then all of a sudden I just decided to let go. And so I just kind of let go. I stood there and I just felt the love. I received the love. That moment that I thought I was going to have in the arena for like 10 seconds, I felt it for like a whole minute or something like that. And it was one of the most beautiful moments ever because the roles were kind of shifted. They were, it felt like I'm always there for everybody, and I'm always giving, and I'm always serving, and I'm always leading, and I'm always trying my best to provide as much as I can to everybody. And in that moment, everybody was there for me. And I can't remember if ever that has happened in that way. I don't think so. And it was just life-changing. It was just the most beautiful thing, because as a leader who puts all this type of high standards on themselves like I do, we never really stop and think like, what do I need? What do I need? We never think like this. I never think like this. But in that moment, I was like, you know what? This is perfect. This is how it's supposed to be. And I'm forever grateful. It completely shifted me. It transformed me. It was just so beautiful. So all of you who were there, if you're listening, the 800 people of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart that you guys did that. That you were so all in with your cheering, with your emotions, with your round of applause, with all of it. I'm blown away. There was every single person in the room was participating. I don't think there was a single person who wasn't a part of that. And it was transformative, I'm sure, for all of you, as it was for me. That whole day was so special. And it was funny too, because in my talk, I was talking about how, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and then 1% of 8 billion is 80 million, and 1% of 80 million is 800,000, and 1% of 800,000 is the 8,000 people in the arena. And that was part of my close that I forgot to mention. I was all pissed off, and there's a little bit more to it, but that was a big part. And then the 8,000 turned into 800 2 days later, and so then that was the 10% of the 8,000. And so I added that into my clothes, and it was just so beautiful and special. And then, so after all of that happened, we went to Hawaii and took a week to decompress. And we were at this beautiful resort on the Big Island on Kona, and we were basically just by the beach, by the pool, relaxing, sleeping, playing in the water, having beautiful sunset dinners, and it was a whirlwind, man. Each year, these conventions have this compounding effect of the business. They have a compounding effect of the lives impacted, the people who quit their jobs, the success stories, all these things. And that's going to continue. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's accelerating faster and faster and faster. But what a lot of people miss and don't anticipate, and they're maybe not prepared for it, is that while all that's going on, the magnitude of love, the magnitude of gratitude being poured back to you, all the thanks, all the lives change, all of that also has this melting point at convention, because everybody's flying in there. Everybody's in one spot. And this was only 8,000 people, right? My organization is over 300,000 sales. 8,000 of them company-wide were only there. So I can't imagine if we actually had 100,000 person stadium convention, Taylor Swift sold out type of arena type thing. You know what I mean? What would happen then? How many days would I want to stand around and take pictures and meet people and all this kind of stuff? I don't know. It would be nuts. But I do feel like that is coming. I do genuinely believe that in the coming years, the next 5 to 10 years, we will have a sold out stadium of people participating in a global convention. I think it's coming. In fact, I feel it. It is going to come. So yeah, man, we got back and just reintegrating into our life. And a couple of days after we got home, my wife accidentally left the garage door open. And we woke up the next morning, went in the garage. We're like, wait a second, the door's open. That's weird. And then realized that our electric mountain bikes that are a few grand each, and our generator that was a really high-end, nice one, could power everything pretty much in your house if the power goes out, and it's solar powered. It's a really high quality whatever. Was stolen out of our garage with the garage door open while we were sleeping. And it was just such a moment of wow, wait, what? Because it's they didn't break in. The garage door was open, but they did let themselves in and just kind of took whatever they wanted. So I made a post just now on Facebook. You guys can go see it on my personal page. I put a little spin on it that, basically the gratitude that we have is that it was just stuff. My family was safe. It wasn't a burglary. They didn't come in the home. They didn't, do anything crazy. You see stuff on TV and movies, and you're like, man, they could have been so much worse. It could have been so crazy. But at the end of the day, it was just stuff. It was $10,000 roughly of goods. And of course it sucks. You never want to feel violated or things stolen from you. But at the end of the day, the gratitude of, okay, I guess these people needed it more than us. Hopefully it feeds their families. Hopefully it goes to something positive, not drugs, not alcohol, not whatever. But I don't know who it was. I'll never know. I've already released it. I've already let it go. Anyways, all I wanted to basically share on this episode was the roller coaster ride of emotions, how much different it is to be the number one producing 682-6 organization, and all the success and all the income and all the impact and all the things that comes with that is so beautiful. But it doesn't come without a lot of responsibility. It doesn't come with a lot of pressure, I guess, mostly self-inflicted. It doesn't come with drama. It doesn't come without drama or people like not understanding your heart, not understanding who you really are, not speaking to you, having these weird dynamics where like they ignore you, they don't acknowledge you, they see right through you, and you're like, are you serious? Like, I helped change your life. Like, all right, if that's how you want to treat me, it's weird, right? So all this stuff happens, it's part of the mix. So as you progress in your journey, as you become a bigger and bigger leader with a larger and larger organization, that control that you have, that camaraderie, that connection, it starts to slip through your fingers because it literally becomes impossible to maintain that same group. But at the same time, that is necessary. That is a must. You need to evolve to that higher level because that's the nature of this business model, and that's the nature of the compounding effect and all of that. So if you're in those earlier stages, enjoy it. Spend more time with your team, do smaller events and masterminds and hang out with everybody and form those beautiful bonds and form those beautiful relationships. Because as you continue your journey in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, it will be a smaller and smaller inner circle that you kind of talk to and connect with. And it just won't be feasible to have that with everybody anymore, literally. And so I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for being there. For those of you who made it to the global convention, cheering for me, taking pictures, videos, telling me all the positive things about my talk, getting a chance to meet you, take a photo, all of that is super, super special to me. And I want you to know that we're just getting started. I'm recalibrating. My son is going to be born in the next few months, and that's going to change a lot of things around my home as well. We're going to be going to Spain on a little baby moon at the end of July, which we're really, really excited about, just my wife and I. So life is beautiful. I feel blessed, even though we got basically robbed the other night. It's all good. You know what? We move forward. All the adversity and all the challenges and all the stuff that happened in the last few weeks on our trip, it's all good, man. I always look at the silver lining. I always look at what matters, what's important, and I hope you do as well. So if you've been struggling or, you feel a bit of a low energy after that high energy of Okinawa, Japan, or maybe you're feeling down about not being able to attend because of whatever reason you didn't make it to Japan and you're feeling FOMO and you're feeling like you missed out and all that stuff, it's part of your journey. That feeling that you have was supposed to happen for you because now you can process those emotions and you can process those feelings and go, all right, well, convention's going to come again next year. What are you going to do differently? How are you going to prepare? How are you going to make sure that you can attend, right? And when you get back, you might feel a sense of overwhelm or not sure where to start or not sure what to do. Just simplify. Keep it simple. Do a few things that are going to move the needle forward and move your business forward and make you feel good, right? Prioritize self-care. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're drinking enough Kangen water. Take your Ukon. All these things are really important to take care of yourself, nourish yourself, integrate the downloads and the big upgrades that happened in Okinawa. And love yourself. Take care of yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself like I am on myself. And the best is yet to come. I'm so excited. We've entered the Diamond Decade. The next 10 years are going to lead us to the 60th anniversary, which is literally the Diamond Anniversary. And I'm just so excited for the future. I'm excited for you to continue to grow your business, to hit 6A, 6A 2-2-3, and so forth. It's all possible for you. And I'll see you again real soon on the next episode. And thank you for listening to the super long episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward to hearing the feedback once you've listened. All right, take care. Bye-bye.